So I am going to do here a top 10, 12 novels of my favorite series of all time. I have read 1,000 novels so far in my life, so I can honestly give a 10 favorite novels, although some are missing, but I can do it, and I'm going to try to do a top 10 apart from some are individual novels, but some are series. Like I can't give, because if I had to do a book by book, I would not be able to do mentally a 10 book, my top 10. I would have to do a top 30 or so, and some books I've read a long time ago, 20 years ago, and so I can remember the series overall, and the meaning they have to me, but not the particular novel itself. Unfortunately, I have so many books. I have 3,000 books that it's very difficult for me to read again the same novel, unless they are very good. Some I've read twice, but not all of them, of course. So here's my top 10. Hope you enjoy it. This is segmented. So another series that I really enjoy is these two novels here. It's called City of the Dead, and and Brian Keene, the Rising and City of the Dead. This is a two-part novel, because the first one ends in a cliffhanger. I read it, and it's the first novel I've read of zombies that I really enjoyed, and I start collecting novels because of it, and start collecting a lot of novels by Brian Keene. I have got them all, somehow out there, but I have got them, almost all of them. I'm not saying all, because he wrote a lot of shorts, novellas, in some are very, very difficult to find, but I remember last time I checked, I read 13 of his novellas or so on, and I've got 4 more to read: Dark Hollow, Goal, and Ghost Walk. It's one of my favorite horror writers, so that's it. I have nothing to do. If you want to read a really good, interesting zombie series, go with this one. Another very important writer, and in this particular story, it's Bentley Little, The Association. This is one of my favorite horror stories of all time. I've got all of his books, and although some convey the same spirit of The Association, they never really delivered as much as this one. Or The Store, I have some back there. This is a bit of a different, as the name implies, The Association, like The Store, and other books he has in his, and he's got a lot of books with this kind of name, like The Mailman. All of them are just like this: The Walking, The Town, The House, The Collection, The Store, The University, The Dominion, and so on, are all stories where the evil is not physical entity, if you say it's like more the association is evil, but nobody, you can point the finger, okay, this is it, or this is what I have to do. It's like grabbing the little stuff on life and making it evil, like the store. You go to a store and sell you this and that and so on, but they are evil within. There are no physical. It's very, very strange to explain Bentley Little. I'm trying to explain. Yeah. One of the persons who will be in top 10 with 2 novels, it's undoubtedly Agatha Christie. Agatha Christie. This one is in Portuguese, but it's the assassination of Roger Ackroyd. I believe that's the name in English. Yeah, the murder of Roger Ackroyd. And then There Was None are two of my favorite novels of all time. I've read them at least two, and then There Was None I read it 3 times. It's very different from other novels in her world, because I'm not going to spoilers, but this one, the Roger Ackroyd, really stunned a lot of people. I remember 2 years ago when the COVID was a thing that made us stay at home, and so in my book club for my colleagues at work, we read Roger Ackroyd, and nobody gets it. And it was very interesting because it's in the first person and it's very different. I highly advise it. Beginning with Roger Ackroyd, don't read, and then There Was None afterwards, because then it's downhill from there. That's it. Murder of Orient Express. It's good, but it's not their finest. It's the most famous due to the movie, but not the best. This book, it's called Fatherland, and it's one of the best alternative history I've read. So much that I bought a lot of other alternative history series like Harry Turtle, because I really enjoyed this one. It's a mystery, Second World War, post-Second World War, and it's very, very good. He tries to be political, but he never... He could have gone a little further with the story, but the main focus is the mystery and the things that the Nazis did to achieve victory and so on. It's a mystery mixed with alternative history, of course, and it's very good. I remember reading this and the buzz and people looking sideways because of the Nazi cross, which in Portugal is not banned or something like that, but of course if you are reading this book, Fatherland, and this symbol, yeah, it's not going to be that good. Probably on my top 3 is and it's the series that made me want to go to fantasy. It's Dragonlance. Okay, we're calling Dragonlance not only the main series, Dragons of Autumn, Twilight, the Dragons of Winter Night, and Dragons of Spring Dawning. Then there was the last novel that was the Summer Flame. In between the series, in between the Spring Dawning and the Summer Flame, there were a couple of novels. One of them is this one that is probably my favorite. It's Time of Twins, War of Twins, and Test of Twins. Then there is the second generation, which is sons and so on of the Elric characters. And then my favorite one, of course, is Soulforge, made by Margaret Wise. It's the life of Russell Major, and suffice to say, it's my favorite book of all time. I have no problem saying that. There are other novels in the series. It's Dragons of Vanished Moon, Dragons of Fallen Sun, and Dragons of a Tarnish something. It's the continuation of the Summer Flame, but they don't focus that much in the main characters. Then there was 3 books made by Margaret Wise and Tracy Hickman that sets between the first 3. So between each novel, they wrote another novel. I read the first one. To be quite honest, was very bad. But that's it. That's one of my favorite series. is the best fantasy out there? Of course not, but it's fun, and it made me read in English. That's the first step, because I only read in Portuguese, but then I started reading English because I want to read more stories online. So that's it. So, and I read around 20 or so books in that universe. Yeah. Dragonlance is probably my favorite, my first induction to fantasy. The second one was also very good, so good that I'm still reading now. It's in Forgotten Realms, and it's called it's the Drizzt series. I've got here Legacy of the Draw, 4 novels. You can see behind me more here. I've got them all, of course, and they are very, very good. Drizzt is a character that's very interesting from the beginning. To be quite honest, I'm finished the Two Swords, the last series, the last book in that series, the fourth series. The fifth series, sorry. And then it's not that good, to be honest, because Drizzt is a character that is very powerful. You know that, okay? He's very troubled with his mind because of his heritage and how people see him. So you can relate to that if you live in a community of white people and you're black or something like that. I can understand that it's relatable. But after 12 books, or 13, or 14, or 15, now 30 books, you get a little sick of it. Okay, I understand, he's very troubled. Okay, I understand he cannot love Katibri because she's going to die before him, and so on. And so it's repetitive. But I still enjoy the book. I still read them one per year or so. And they are very good. You don't get me wrong, Icewind Dale, it's one of the best trilogy I've read, without a doubt. So that made me buy the rest of the books. So highly advisable if you want to read more sword and sorcery and must character-based stories. Okay. One of the novels I want to talk about is this one, On the Beach, by Neville Shutt, and it's one of the most grim, dark books of all time, without a doubt. I cried with the book right from the beginning, and I'm not going to spoil here because that's in here on the back cover. You know that all people is going to die, all of them. So how? And that's the focus of the story is the gleam hope, the hope that something may will happen, but as you read more, you know that really not going to happen, and so it's very grim, it's very dark, and it's very, it's not that. Don't read this if you're feeling down, because you're going to cry. I cry a lot. Devil Guard. Okay, Devil's Guard is a post-World War II story. This is the first of 3 novels. I only got this one. The other 2 are very expensive to buy because there are no new editions. And this one is basically the story of Waffen SS troops after the Second World War. What happened to them? Most Waffen SS or people that wasn't in the Wehrmacht had to escape, and so they joined the Foreign Legion. There was a conflict, probably most people don't know it, the Indochina War, where the French fought people from Indochina, Cambodia, Vietnam, and so on. And a great part of the Foreign Legion that fought there were Waffen SS. I read I read here and I read afterwards in a book that more than 70% of the Foreign Legion in the time were Waffen SS. So this story, it's very good, very grimdark, it's very realistic. I really enjoyed it. Is this a real novel? I don't know, but it's very, very good. Highly advisable for war enthusiasts. My favorite writer is Michael Moorcock, Elric. Okay, I've got all of his multiverse novels. There are a lot. I only have here this one with me. This is the first Elric saga, the first 3 stories. Elric of Melniboné, The Last Sailor of the Sea of Fates, and The Weird of the White Wolf. There are 2 more hardcover editions, part 2 and part 3, and then there are a couple of other stories afterwards. And Elric is my kind of hero. I enjoy, as you know, Warhammer 40k, and this one you can see this is a key character that made people write conflicted heroes, not Lord of the Ring type of heroes like perfect, but conflicted heroes with some bad, not totally good, like evil, a bit grimdark, very. I remember this and feeling desperate for the character and for the story itself. I really enjoy it. So it's number 4. Another favorite stories, and probably on the top 3, probably not on top 3, but I cannot really fathom them in the first, second and third place. It's, of course, Lord of the Rings, 1984, by George Orwell, and this one, from a surprise to everyone because nobody knows me, it's Soulforge by Margaret Weis. Why I didn't put this in Dragonlance series? Because this is a different kind of book. Dragonlance series is a series portrayed by Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman. It's a full story that encompasses a trilogy, then a second trilogy, The Time of Twins, and so on. Then the final book, Summer of Flame. There were 3 novels afterwards, but all of them are in the continuous stories, and they are by the same authors. This one, it's not. It's Margaret Weis. When they created the story, Margaret Weis said that wrestling was hers, and basically she wanted to tell more about the character itself. And to me, it's one of the most important novels in my life. I remember reading this when I was in hospital. If people, you don't know, of course, but when I was 15 or 16, I was diagnosed with severe asthma, and I was in the hospital for weeks on end. For 5-7 years, I was hospitalized 20 times. Was very, very bad to me. Sometimes I could even get up of bed because I was tired. I remember reading, and maybe probably that's why I really love this series. The Association I mentioned earlier was one book I remember reading in the hospital. Another book I read in the hospital was Gilead's Blood by Dan Hebbett and Nick Vincent, and I was 19, 20 or so, and so Soulforge stayed with me forever. First of all, Raistlin Majere is my favorite characters of all time, in fantasy or not. I identify a great deal with him. I was feeling depressed, I was feeling bad with no hope of having a real life, to be quite honest. And Raistlin Majere has that as well. He fought, but he was very sick, always sick. His brother had to take care of him. After his trial for the mage, he was even more. He couldn't make one magic spell, and he stays, and he coughed and blood and so on. So it's very dark. It's very dark character, okay, not grim dark character, conflicted character of what must he do, right, evil, and so on. And so I remember reading this move and really love it. And so we stayed me forever. I really identify with Reislin. My nickname in the internet was Reislin, and so on. This was the first novel in this series. There are only 2 books, this one and Brother in Arms. I have here, you cannot see it, but it's there. Brother in Arms was done by Margaret Rice and Don Perrin, I believe it's their husband. Don't quote me on that. And these characters stay with me forever. So I didn't, and they are not to be read by Dragonlance. I mean, not to be read, not like that, not be read in terms of they are not necessary, because the other novels of Dragonlance I mentioned are a continuation of the story. Okay, then there are a couple novels that deal with Kitiara or Tanish or only Tasselhoff and so on, and this one is Master Major. This was my favorite. As you can see, there are a lot of here thingies, favorite passages and so on. It's my favorite novel of all time. These 2, I'm not going to talk about much more of them. Everyone knows about these 2 books. This is a very high political novel that I would advise anyone to read if you want to understand a bit more about today's world. Interesting, this novel was written in 48, but the term fake news, the term Big Brother, the term tough crime, the term of this COVID stuff and government taking charge and limiting liberties and so on. This is a very interesting novel, since it was written, as I said, 48, after the Second World War, and the criticism of Stalinism or communism in general, if you believe that it is, because he died soon after and never really developed much what were the main focus of this series. You can see this as a criticism of Stalinism or fascism, and you can see this glorification of each. Far stretch, but you can see it. That's why the novel was banned in the URSS, the Soviet Russia, and it was also banned in America, which makes no sense. But yeah, this is a very complete novel, and I believe everyone should read this novel. Apart from all other I've taught here, this is the most important to everyday person. Okay, then if you like fantasy, you will read this and so on. And Tolkien, it's, what can I say about Tolkien that ever be said by anyone? It's a very interesting story. One thing I would say is that to read this series, read it with illustration by Alan Lee. They are very good illustrations, more cartoonish, but it's very good. They really bring forth this kind of series. Okay. Just to finish, I didn't brought in this series top 10 Warhammer or Black Library novels. If I had to do it this top 10 will be very, very different. As you can see, my top 10, I've got here somewhere okay, I don't have here the top 10, but if I had to put the top 10 novels of all time, this would be very, very different, this series, because there are a couple of series in Warhammer that are my favorite, and even in top 3 or 5. Okay, so, but since I love a lot of novels from Warhammer 40k and Warhammer, mostly Warhammer, I don't want to put them here in this list. If I had to choose a most important series to me, and not counting with these three novels are talk this the 1944 Soulforge and Tolkien. I have no doubt that my favorite world to be in was Warhammer Fantasy. I have no doubt about it. Not Sigmar, Warhammer Fantasy. If I had to choose not a series and not worlds, there are a couple of ones I would like to mention. First of all, Gilead's Blood. Most people criticize the book. I love it. This is a very grim, dark series about a guy who is the last elf, one of the last elves living in the old world, and he's trying to find these people and so on. This is a collection of stories. There is a second novel which deals with a different kind of setting, but this one is a short story collection made together to make a full book, and it's very dark. It's like Elric. To be quite honest, it's Elric. But in Warhammer Fantasy, the last story, which is 70 pages, it's Seven Samurais, the movie, if you watch it, but most people die. That really enjoy it, really grim, I love it. Then there is a series called Trollslayer by William King. I have got here two novels, my favorite two novels, Skaven Slayer, which is the second novel on the series, and then there are Beast Slayer, which is the fifth novel after Trollslayer, Skaven Slayer. Demon Slayer is also perfect, Dragon Slayer, and then Beast Slayer. There is also the two more novels by William King, written by these two characters, Vampire Slayer and Giant Slayer. Then the William King stopped writing for Warhammer, which was very unfortunately, and started writing his own stories. He come back a little later, but he finished writing, and Nathan Long continued the series. Then there were other writers, but to be quite honest, they weren't by a million ways apart from these novels. Really enjoy it. Then there is a series about the Demon's Curse. This is a Maldus Dark Blade series. There are 5 novels on this series, and these are just perfect if you enjoy a not good character. Don't expect something like Elric or some chaotic but neutral character. No, this is a very evil character. All of these 5 novels, all of them are evil characters. No, there is no good in this, and so to me it was perfect. I remember reading them, the 5 novels, in one go. Really enjoyed. I like how it was written by Mike Lee and Dan Habit. Dan Habit created the comics and Mike Lee created the books, I believe. Very good, very perfect. I highly enjoy if you want to read a grimdark story where there is no good. That's it. Just to mention another one, Savant. This is a mystery novel set in the world of Warhammer. Imagine Sherlock Holmes, but it's supernatural stuff. It's very good, highly advisable. Not my favorite, but very good. There are others that I would put here, like I don't have it here, but not Redemption Corps. It's Dead Man Walking. It's a 40k novel about Necrons fighting dead corpse of Krieg. So Dead Man Walking has 2 meanings on that. Very cool. Demon World by Ben Counter, a story about the demon world. Again, no good characters, all evil, all perfect. Very good. 15 hours. I've read this book 2 times now. It's a story about an Imperial Guard that goes to another world, fight to the Imperium, and 15 hours is the expectancy of life after you've been deployed. Yeah, very grim, dark. Don't expect anything good. That world, about Katakan soldiers fighting in the world against orcs, but even the world is against them. Very, very dark, very good. Not as dark as this one, but very good, and very cool characters. And then there is Dan Habit, Tanit. This is the first novel, first and only. If you want to read military sci-fi, read this. This is Bernard Cornwell's Sharp, but in fantasy, in sci-fi. Very cool. And so on. And I just forgot. On my top 10, I should include Dune, but I didn't. But it's on my top 10 without doubt. So the 10 will live, and Dune it's in. Okay, that's it. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this series. It's very cool to me to do it. I've read it, so I believe I have not the most famous novels that all people talk about, George Martin and so on. I read different kind of novels. I hope you enjoy this series.